Microorganisms play a vital role in biogeochemical cycles. These cycles involve the recycling of primary elements that are essential to all living systems. Examples of these include the carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen cycles. Microbes' involvement in these cycles is indispensable. In the carbon cycle, microbes perform what is known as CO2 fixation. In carbon fixation, photosynthetic organisms take CO2 from the atmosphere and convert it to organic matter. Such organisms include cyanobacteria and planktonic algae, which are responsible for almost half of the carbon fixation production. Likewise, organic matter may be broken down by microorganisms by the way of metabolic processes of fermentation and respiration. The organic matter is converted into CO2, which then returns to the atmosphere. Carbon is vital to the survival of most microbes, which consume carbon contained in organic matter from plants or the waste products or bodies of other organisms. A study was conducted on the role of microorganisms in the global carbon cycle. This study was conducted to discover if there was a way to improve the carbon sequestration to improve agricultural sustainability by manipulating the soil through an application of various farming techniques and through the manipulation of the soil microbiome. Researchers are interested in finding ways in which microbes may be utilized to help soils regain lost carbon and to curtail carbon emissions which impact climate change. But more research and experimentation need to be done regarding this. This is important to our agricultural future and the health of our planet. Intensive agricultural practices degrade soil quality and often have a negative impact on our environment. When plants are harvested during agricultural production, organic matter and nutrients and even topsoil are lost, which impacts the soil health. Two common agricultural practices, tillage and drainage, have led to increased aeration of the soil and increased exposure of normally protected organic matter. This, in turn, leads to accelerated decomposition of organic matter, subsequently releasing carbon into the atmosphere at an accelerated rate. What can we do to improve soil quality and increase carbon sequestration in the soil? There are various agricultural practices that can improve soil health and reduce the loss of topsoil and nutrients in the soil. These include cover cropping and intercropping, composting, and to increase the production of plants that have extensive root systems that reach deep into the soil. Another method is with the application of biochar, a type of charcoal that helps in carbon sequestration. There are multiple processes which occur in the nitrogen cycle as nitrogen transforms and travels through organic matter into the soil and water and back into the air. Microorganisms are essential to some of these processes. In nitrogen fixation, bacteria convert nitrogen from the atmosphere into ammonia. Only some bacteria have this ability. These bacteria may live freely in the soil or share a symbiotic relationship with plants or other organisms. In mineralization, microbes consume and decompose organic matter from crops and within the soil. The nitrogen within is converted into ammonium. In nitrification, microorganisms convert ammonium to nitrate to use as a source of energy. Nitrate is the most widely available form of nitrogen for plants but can be easily leached from the soil, especially after harvest. Nitrate will easily move from the soil in water, especially if soil drainage is high. Denitrification is as it sounds, a reverse of nitrification, and involves certain bacteria converting nitrate into gaseous forms of nitrogen, which return back into the atmosphere. In immobilization, within the soil, there are also competition for nitrogen. Both microbes and plants use nitrogen and ammonia for energy. Immobilization occurs when there is a high demand for nitrogen and not readily available for plants. However, as microbes die, that nitrogen will be released back into the soil. To minimize these nitrogen losses and manage the nitrogen in the soil, as in the case of nitrate leaching, farmers may apply nitrogen fertilizers. However, applying too much or too little during the growing season can have adverse effects. Other factors may impact crop intake of nitrogen, including the temperature, moisture of the soil, or whether the nitrogen was applied when the plants are taking it up. Timing is important. There are negative effects to the use of nitrogen fertilizers, however. Overuse is a risk, especially if it is leached from the soil and enters waterways. Changes in nutrient supply in the water and soil, such as this, can impact the local plant and animal populations as well as the microbial populations. The use of nitrogen-fixing crops, cover crops, are also great methods for improving soil health, preventing runoff and topsoil loss, and for fixing nitrogen in the soil. Such crops include legumes, like clover, or certain cereal crops, such as winter rye. In the oxygen cycle, microorganisms play an essential role. We can thank photosynthetic microorganisms, that is, microorganisms that produce their own energy through photosynthesis, for a significant proportion of the world's oxygen. Photosynthetic microorganisms like algae and cyanobacteria, also known as blue-green algae, produce 50% of the oxygen in our atmosphere.